Welcome to At the Table. I'm so glad you're here with us. I'm your host, Angel Anan, and today I'm sitting down with a member of our church family. This isn't scripted, just coffee and conversation. Pull up a chair and sit with us as we get to know Jimi Labonte. Jimi, Jimi. Can you tell me about that?
Sure. Well, it's kind of a long
story.
Is
it James?
It's James.
Okay.
I was birthed James, and as a young man, I went by Jimi. And then when I matured around 13, or thought I was mature, I went to Jim, because Jimmy seemed like a kid's name.
Exactly.
And then as I really grew up and went into business for myself, there were a lot of Jims, but few James.
Right.
So I went to James, and then...
You are not a James.
Well, it worked for quite a while.
Did you feel weird as a James?
No.
Okay. Because I was thinking today, I'm like, I could not call him James. That just does not fit.
I didn't feel weird because every time somebody said James, they were talking to me. So it worked out really well.
You didn't feel like you were in trouble? Like, when did your mother be like, James, what's your middle name?
Richard.
James Richard.
Well, that would be trouble. James Richard means the next thing that's coming is a shoe.
Isn't that funny that parents do that? Like, the middle name is like, you're in trouble.
And then the shoe comes off and it comes across the floor, you know. But then as I grew, I think probably when I turned 50, so that's 22 years ago, I felt like it was time to go back to being a young man again. So I went to Jimi.
Oh.
And because I was a big Jimi Hendrix fan as a kid, he spelled his Jimi, Jimi.
That's right.
So when I took Jimi on, I spelled it like Jimi Hendrix.
That's so cool. I love that.
Well, it sticks.
I know. It's the Jimi. I love it. What a great story.
Well, now you know.
We were just discussing off air how you're honored to be here today and felt like...
Yeah, I just didn't even... I thought, like, why me? You know?
Because you're the biggest fan of At the Table. No, that's the point. It's why you. Of course, why you. We're all significant at this family, and I want everybody to know you too. So
well,
I'm excited because I know a little bit about your story. You know, we had dinner at your house once, and we chat on Sundays, and but I don't know a lot of it. So I'm excited to get to know you a little bit more. And
I'll try to keep it to the Cliff Note version.
I know, because I was thinking about that. You're 72,
yeah.
As you just said. You just revealed, if people can do simple math. And so obviously we can't do everything. But I am curious. I don't know where you grew up and siblings.
Okay, I grew up in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Okay, I didn't realize you were a New Hampshireite.
Older brother, younger sister.
Your middle child.
Yeah, had relatives right here in Littleton, and I learned to ski at Cannon Mountain when I was 4 years old.
Wow.
Skied every winter until I moved out of New Hampshire at Cannon.
Oh my gosh.
And was a big fan of the mountains. I've climbed all the 4,000 footers and almost all of them in all seasons.
You have now, like a while ago, or had you still
probably,
hiking?
Oh, we still hike.
We still hike,
but not as much as when I was in my teens and early 20s.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've always been like into being fit and athleticism and
just into nature.
Oh,
fit and athleticism.
It was just being in nature. Yeah.
Just to get out though. I mean, these mountains are just gorgeous.
Did you feel like you would find God in the mountain? I mean, we'll get into your salvation story because I know you have not been always saved and following Christ, but did you have a sense of finding God or not?
Well, not really, but I had a sense of peace. You know, I mean, I really started hiking when I was 11 and I joined the Boy Scouts. And when I was 14, you know, I had a very unfortunate incident with a Catholic priest. And that led to me leaving faith altogether. And I really found comfort in the mountains. You know, it was quiet. It was just me and nature.
Wow.
And I could just relax. It was the only place I could really relax.
Wow. And like the pain of that experience in the Catholic Church, did that kind of go away when you were, or was it kind of silenced for a while?
I was able to probably forget it best when I was alone in the mountains. If I was alone at home.
Right. No. Isn't that fascinating?
You know, and that's, you know, and it led to a lot of bad behavior. Yeah, it really did.
Yeah.
You know, it led to addiction and things that just were dangerous. And because there was no answer when I was 14 years old for pain, shame, and I never told anybody.
You didn't tell it. Are you okay talking about this?
Sure, I'm okay talking about it.
You never did tell anyone.
No.
You didn't tell your parents. Were your parents together when you were growing up?
Oh yeah.
You were raised Catholic then, obviously.
Raised Catholic, you know, and this priest would have dinner at our house, would take cribbage with my mom.
That's why you didn't tell, right?
And
because like there was
but
a
my
friendship.
mom had that mother's sense, and she would ask me. She asked me the weekend that it happened. She had suspicions because of, I guess, my behavior was quite off.
You were acting different. Yeah.
And I said nothing. And she even asked me a few days before she passed away to tell her what happened. And I saw no point in her knowing then.
How long ago was that?
Oh, gosh. I was probably 58 when she passed away.
Yeah.
So it's quite a while ago, but, you know.
But 44 years? 44 years after the incident? Or something.
Yeah, just, you know, there was no point.
Yeah.
But, you know, the only real rest I found was either camping alone by myself. Going with somebody else wasn't interesting, really, unless it was winter. I never went winter camping by myself because it's dangerous enough in the winter. So you really want a partner, a buddy, some kind of buddy, in case something goes wrong.
Yeah. So then you have somebody else who's going to die with you.
Well,
so you're not alone.
or go for help.
Of course, I'm just teasing.
You know, or patch you up.
Right. If you get hurt. Yeah.
If you know, ice climbing and things like that. If you fall.
Oh, because you did ice climbing too.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, so you want somebody there to, you know.
So you had a little brain still left to you.
I had an amazing amount of brain left to me, which still
boggles your mind.
It does. You know, I mean, God really was generous with that. You know, in high school, even though I was a hard drug user, you know, heroin was my drug of choice.
So you started high school.
I started using when I was 15, heroin, and I quit when I was 17 when myself and a good friend overdosed. He died. I didn't. And it scared me.
Wow.
And I said, you know, this stuff is really dangerous. You got to stop it. But it didn't stop me from using other drugs that didn't seem as dangerous.
Yeah.
Because I still needed something in my system to deal with the pain, the shame, the guilt. Because I always felt it was somehow my doing.
Your fault, yeah. And when you're doing the drugs, did your parents, especially your mom, realize, or did they know you were doing drugs? They wanted to ignore it all. When my friend Peter died, she said, she woke me up. We were out by their pool. He had passed. She shook me awake. She told me I had to leave because she had to call the police. Wait, you were out by the pool and he died there at the house?
Yeah, we OD'd at their house. And he was dead when she woke me up because I had also had overdosed.
But you didn't
But
die.
I didn't die. And I still remember jumping over the fence to leave her yard. I didn't even go through the gate. I just jumped over the fence.
Did you know?
And she said, I'm going to call your mother.
Did you know Peter was dead?
Oh, you could tell.
Oh, my God.
He was, you know, pretty grayish looking.
Yeah.
You know. And so if she called my mom, I'm not sure. But that she said she would. But there was never any confrontation at home, ever.
Wow. Because how could she not call your mom?
I mean, as a parent myself, yeah, I'm calling your mom.
Yeah.
So, maybe my mom was a pretty much a not my Jimi kind of mom, being that middle child.
Mm-hmm.
My younger sister will still say that I was the golden child and I could do no wrong. And she would get in trouble for the exact same thing that I had done a year prior and never got any consequence for. Right. Well, she was a girl. Consequences need to be different for girls and guys.
True.
At least in my brain.
It's true sometimes, though.
Especially if you're taking a car out of town or you're getting on a flight to Puerto Rico and nobody knows it.
Right. Right.
As a guy, I mean, you get in trouble, but
yeah,
as a girl,
it's true. Yeah.
Lots more to look for.
You probably were the golden child, though. Like if usually with siblings, you can ask them who's the favorite.
Yeah, my brother would say the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
But I think maybe, I always think in hindsight too that I think my mom knew about my abuse, and even though I wouldn't admit to it, that was the beginning of a lot of favoritism. Maybe.
Yeah.
Feeling bad for what
Sure.
had happened.
I bet
she
you.
couldn't have protected me. Why couldn't I protect him?
Right.
I used to have this guy to the house.
Yeah.
And so I think that could have been some of the favoritism.
It sounds like it. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you start this life of drug and abuse
And high risk behaviors.
Yeah.
Driving as fast as the car would go, things like that.
Were you you feel like you were on like a suicide wish or
Well,
death
I
wish?
wasn't afraid to die.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. I would do anything that had a high risk to it because there was that risk that maybe I might die, and then I would be out of pain.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But I never attempted a suicide ever in my life.
Right.
Can I take a sip of that coffee?
I know.
I'm looking at that cup of coffee.
We got into such a great conversation already. Yeah.
It goes better with coffee.
Take a sip. It does go better.
Thank you.
Now, you asked for a drip. Does it taste a little different?
Yeah.
Does it taste better?
Better.
That's an Americano.
Yeah. It's a really good coffee.
Have you had an Americano before?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know. Good. I'm glad that it's on point today.
You have the best coffee in town.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because you drink it black, it better be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll drink it almost anyway, but black likes me best.
Yeah,
My-
a lot
my
of
system,
Yeah, that's how I gym switch too. Yeah,
And the caffeine has a better effect when it's black,
it does.
I think.
It wouldn't seem to, right? That wouldn't make sense.
Well, I mean,
It's the same amount going into your body.
I think like milk or soy or almond or anything, I think
Right.
maybe it just filters out some of that
It
caffeine. I don't
must.
know.
Yeah. Well, that's why when people drink an espresso just straight
Right.
for a quick jolt, even though that has actually the drip has more caffeine
Than an
than an
espresso.
espresso, but people definitely feel it because you just chug it.
No, Cuban coffee, that's another whole ballgame.
Oh yeah. And now we'll go into. You were in Cuba, right? Were you in the military?
No.
Okay, so then what did you start to pursue as a career?
As a career, well, I attempted college the first time right out of high school. And I made the tactical error of going to school in Colorado, where the mountains are even more beautiful than they are here in New Hampshire.
That's what I hear.
And I had my experience in high school when we were talking about brain cells earlier.
Yeah.
I didn't take books home. I got my schoolwork done in class, even though I was in an altered state of consciousness all the time.
Seriously?
All the
And you
time.
still excelled in school?
I never took a book home. I still got A's and B's, an occasional C.
Oh my gosh.
On my SATs, I did exceptionally well. And it's a testament to God's
Wow.
brains, of how
Yeah.
he created us.
Yeah.
And that, the fact that, we have neuroplasticity.
Right.
And you can retrain your brain. And my brain I know I killed off a lot of brain cells. And I often wonder what would have been had I not used so much substances
No
from
kidding.
the time I was 14 to probably, Well, to be perfectly honest, probably to my early 40s.
Wow.
Because it wasn't until I was almost 50 that I ever told anyone what happened.
And who was that?
Trisha.
And she's your second wife?
Yep.
And how long were you married yet, or?
I can't remember whether we were married yet or
So it was
not.
new in the relationship.
It was
pretty new.
fairly new.
Wow.
I mean, we got married 54 weeks after we met, so it couldn't have been that new.
54 weeks. Who's counting?
Well, it was really easy to figure out. We met on February 6th in 1998, and we got married on February 20th, 1999. So it was really easy to figure it out, the amount of weeks.
What did that feel like when you finally let that secret out?
Well, a hiking metaphor,
Yeah.
You're hiking, you've got 70 pounds on your back.
Right.
And you're working really hard, and you get to where you're going to take a break, and you take that pack off your back, and you go, wow, does that feel better, getting that thing off?
Wow.
That's how it felt.
Yeah.
It felt like a huge relief. And Tricia, through her infinite wisdom, said, you need to call the church. You need to report this, even though it's so many years later. You can't not say something. And so I did. And the priest was retired.
Sure.
And they asked me, was there anything they could do? I said, I really doubt it.
Yeah.
And but they kept calling me and asking me, what can we do to help you? So
Wow.
eventually I said, well, maybe I should go into counseling.
Right.
So I went into therapy, and they paid for it all.
Because you'd never had any before that, obviously, because you never even told anybody.
Never even told anybody.
Did you not think you needed therapy? Why didn't you pursue that?
Well, that's pretty
earlier.
I mean, I went into therapy after already spending like probably 15 years as a crisis counselor in mental health with people. Yeah.
What? How ironic.
Yeah. I mean, I knew the benefit of therapy, but I didn't think
Wow.
so many years later. I mean, you get the feeling sometimes that you've got it figured out. that
Yeah.
You've done it,
Yeah.
I put it to rest. I quit doing drugs. I get along every day in life without being altered. Mm-hmm. What do I really need?
Right.
Probably nothing. And of course, at that point, I didn't even have Jesus.
Right.
I still didn't have Jesus in my life. And
So when you and Trish got together, you did not have Jesus.
Nope.
And she didn't either, right?
no, she was also raised Catholic, and she knew, because I told her what had happened to me, not to try to get me to go to church, because I was pretty angry at God.
Oh, yeah.
I blamed him rather than the man.
Yeah.
And so she would get me to church by, a wedding we get invited to. You got to go. I'm singing in the choir for Christmas. Will you come hear me sing?
And this was this the Catholic Church?
Yeah, because she would still go to church. Not all the time. She was a typical on-again, off-again Catholic
Yeah.
at that point in her life. But that's how she would get me into church. I'm singing. Can you come hear me sing? And she knew better than to ask me to recommit myself to any kind of faith.
Yeah.
But God was working on me unbeknownst to me.
So then did you start to find God a little more during the therapy, or you realized, wow, I actually needed this? Was it
the
helpful?
therapy definitely was helpful.
Yeah.
And I mean, in hindsight, you can see God sometimes in the hindsight.
Oh,
I mean,
always.
we
Yeah.
were living in just north of Atlanta, Georgia at that time. And for Georgia, at my age of, I think I was probably 51 or 2 then, I was old for Georgia. They want these 22-year-old kids that will work 70 hours a week for 40 hours of pay.
As the counselor.
As anything.
Oh.
They want you to work
Yep.
and only get a 40-hour paycheck for a 70-hour week. And, I said, I'm just not doing that.
No.
So I had a really hard time finding work. So I was working for a landscape guy and getting paid under the table. And it was real easy to tell him, I can't work Thursdays after 12 o'clock because I got to go to counseling. It was really easy, you know, whereas any other job, hey, can I have every Thursday afternoon off?
No.
Doesn't work.
Right.
You know, so God kept me unemployed, basically. So I never missed a therapy appointment.
Wow.
You know, he did that.
Yeah. Well, you see that now, yeah.
You know, and, you know, I was really interested in Buddhism at that point. And I dragged Trish one Saturday to this Buddhist monastery in Atlanta. And it was really, thinking back now, it was really weird. The things that they have in there that they believe in.
Right.
And we get back to our apartment after the whole thing, and I was in our office, and she came in, and I still remember she said, you know, maybe I should check out this Buddhism thing because it would be really nice if we shared a faith together.
Right.
And out of what seemed like nowhere at the time, I said, well, you know, if you wanted me to go to church, all you got to do is ask.
Oh my gosh, that's bizarre.
And we both just stopped.
What?
We didn't know what to do. We didn't even know how to react.
So did that come out of your mouth without you even like premeditating it?
Yeah, no thought process whatsoever. It just...
Because she did ask you to go to church before, right?
Well, to hear her sing.
Oh, right. Right. You did say
But she
that
talked
she
about
would know
sharing
not
a
to,
faith together,
right.
you know? And
So
when
what'd you do? Did you go to Catholic church?
yeah. Yeah, we went to a Catholic church. The first one was kind of interesting. And we were coming home from somewhere one day, and somebody gave us a shortcut right road to take. And there was this big cathedral. And that's what I was used to growing up. You know, giant churches with many steeples.
Yeah.
And big organ inside and everything else. And I thought, there's a church for me. So we started going to that church.
Because that's the way to choose a church.
Yeah. And to tell you just how much of a sense of humor our God has, you know, back then I would wear a suit and tie to church.
I love that.
That's how I was brought up.
Yeah.
So I walk into this church the very first Sunday we're going there. This older gentleman.
It is a Catholic.
Older than
It's
me.
a Catholic church, though,
Catholic
right?
church, yeah. This guy makes a beeline for me. I'm barely through the first door into the foyer, and he comes right up to me. Can you do me a favor?
What?
I go, sure. I mean, you know me now.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, of course.
I've always been very. You ask me to do something, I'm almost always going to say yes.
You are such a servant.
And so I said, sure, what do you want me to do? He said, well, when communion ends, can you stand right at these double doors here and direct anybody who wants to lead before the blessing to the side doors of the church, because it really it distracts the priest from his final words and blessing if this door keeps open and closing. And when I was a kid, my biggest pet peeve when I was going to the Catholic Church was people leaving after communion and not staying for the blessing.
Yes.
It used to drive me crazy.
It would drive me crazy.
So Trish looks at me when the guy asks, and she goes, "That's our God, isn't he? Isn't he just a jokester?"
You think because you had the suit and tie on, right? He thought like you were an established member there. That's what I'm
Who
thinking.
knows? You know, I think God just knew that I would be the guy that wouldn't let anybody out that door, because I was already not happy with them leaving.
Right, because you always hated that.
Right.
That is hilarious.
You know? And
so you did it.
I did it.
Did people listen to you?
Yeah.
You better believe it.
You better believe they did. You know, they didn't know what to make of me. I don't know anybody had ever done it before. I might have been the first guy. Who knows? And do you know the Catholic faith at all?
Yeah, I grew up Catholic too.
Okay, so you know about confession.
Right.
So I had this wild idea that, you know, I need to do a confession. I've got 36 or 7 years of stuff.
It was a good idea.
Thought so. So I get this priest to set it up for me. And I mean, I remembered it as a 10, 12, 13-year-old boy, you go into this little dark room, you kneel down,
Yes, the partition's up. And,
well, they don't do it that way anymore.
They don't?
They do it just like you and me.
They
Sitting
do?
there.
Do you think all parishes do that?
Well, they did it there.
I did not. And that was a while ago.
Yeah. So I walk into this room.
Oh, no.
And there's this guy, with the collar, the whole bit. He's sitting
You're
there.
like, where's the box?
And he's just about the same age as the priest who abused me.
Oh, my gosh, Jimmy.
And total gut reaction, I just go off on this poor guy.
No.
Yep. I said, hey, listen, you got to get one thing straight. The last time I was in a room with a guy about your age with a collar on like that, it didn't go well for me. If you've got any odd ideas, you better put them to sleep right now because I will knock you out. And he just the poor guy stares at me and he's just,
What?
and it was more than an hour.
What? But you went through with it.
Oh, yeah.
That was courageous.
He was crying. I was crying.
Wow.
There was so much that I had to.
How powerful.
That I had to purge.
Unload, yeah.
And he was a mess, too.
That's beautiful.
And that was, I think that was during my therapy days.
Yeah.
Still. Because we were in Georgia, so,
So you told, that's right, because you told Trish was the first one. So now this is probably the second person you're telling, besides your therapist. Yeah. Third, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So did you leave there a little more healed?
I don't know.
Yeah. Did you feel that
know.
backpack moment again of like releasing, or it wasn't quite?
No, the backpack moment was always at my therapist. It was like every week when I would go, it was like I would take a brick out of my backpack, put it on her desk, and I would leave it there.
Yeah.
So every session, I was getting lighter and lighter and lighter.
Yeah.
Until I was, sort of healed.
Were you still so you were a grief? No, what were you I
was a crisis counselor.
Crisis counselor. Were you still a crisis counselor?
No, because I couldn't find work in Georgia where they.
So is that what you did out of high school? Did you go into?
Oh no, I was a logger. I was an iron worker. I was a cross country truck driver. I was a rough carpenter. I was a bridge builder. I was a welder. I was looking and looking and looking for what was for me.
Yeah. And none of those fit?
And none of those fit the bill. I would work maybe a year or two. This is great. This is great. What a great job. And then it would lose its shine. Yeah. And I would look for something else. This is great. This is great. And I just kept bouncing from one thing to another. And a God moment again, unbeknownst to me, was I went and worked with mentally deficient men making apple cider. And because a guy said to me, you're going to work with the guys and help make cider, because they had a big orchard at this. It was a residential program for older adult men who had really no capacity for being in public at all. Yeah. And I got along great with these guys.
I could see that.
Yeah. Some of them couldn't even talk.
Wow.
And I realized this is for me. This kind of thing is for me.
That lit up in you.
And and ever since then, I've been working with people with either disabilities, addiction, suicidality, schizophrenia. Wow. And in the mental health field, men are at a premium. Yeah. It's mostly female driven. Yep. So every place I ever worked, I got all the sex offenders because they didn't want to put them with a woman. Right. I got all the guys coming out of prison because they're big, scary, and carrying a lot of baggage. Yeah. So I had a huge caseload. Wow. And I learned a lot from my guys that I worked with.
So did you have to get a degree for that, right?
Well,
or were you trained
I didn't have a degree
job?
when I started.
Yeah.
And I started at the Brattleboro retreat and with teenagers. And one day my supervisor has me in for supervision, because you had to have supervision often because you were going through a lot with people. Yeah. And you had to find a way to get rid of that and not carry it. Yeah. And she says to me, she goes, you're really good at this. but you don't have a degree. You should think about going back to college.
Okay.
I said, do you know how much school costs? At that point I was, I think I must have been, I was like 39 years old, 38 years old. I said, and on this salary? Are you nuts?
Exactly.
And she said, well, we'll pay 50%. I'm thinking 50%, that's pretty good.
Pretty good. How about 100?
I said, can you put it in writing? She goes, really? I said, yeah, put it in writing. I said, because I know I'm going to need this. So she gets the director to put the whole thing in writing. And I started going to community college because I could pay for that on my own.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got all my stupid stuff, English 101,
Yes, all the prerequisites,
math,
right.
all those
Yeah.
things at a cheap rate
Right.
that I could afford on my salary. And then when it came time to going into the mental health field and getting all those classes,
Yes,
I had to go to a
you had to
4-year
get the
college.
whole bachelor's in
Yeah.
what, like psychology? Is that what it would be? Or?
Human services
Human
is what I
services?
did it in.
Oh man!
And so then when I went to the 4-year school, that's when I asked them for the 50%.
See that brain, Jimmy? That was
Because rather
could not
than,
be destroyed.
rather than $78 a credit, now it was $370 some odd dollars.
Oh,
a credit.
right,
So, well,
I
let
know.
them pay that.
Yeah.
And I brought out my paperwork. This is where I need the 50%. And they knew I had them,
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost like dishonest in a way. But I knew I could pay for the first half. I knew I couldn't pay for the second half.
It's just being really as wise as a serpent. That's what I think you were doing.
So I got my degree then,
And you were working at the same place. You were still
I was
working full
Working for the
time.
Brattleboro Street, working full time, going to school full time.
Wow.
It was a weekend program for adult learners. So 2 weekends a month, Saturday and Sunday, I was down in Springfield, Mass, in class all day.
Were you living in the Brattleboro area?
Yeah. So it wasn't far, right down 91,
Wow,
maybe an
that
hour
would-
and 40 minutes.
That was a season.
Oh, it sure was.
Not
And
a lot of
And I
sleep.
almost didn't get my degree.
Why?
Well, because, and again, God gave me the right woman. I wanted to, there were a lot of classes that I had life experience that would get me out of taking the classes, but I had to write a thesis on why I knew all the answers or all the requirements for these particular classes.
Really? They'll let you do that?
Well, they would at this school.
Oh,
So I clept out of like maybe, 38 or 40 credits.
wow.
But I had to, it was like almost a 60-page paper. And most of that school was reading and writing papers, reading and writing papers, reading and writing papers.
A lot is that, yeah.
400 pages a week was
Oh, yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
And that's when I had to get glasses because I was falling asleep in the book because my eyes couldn't keep focused. But I was done at writing papers and I hadn't finished it. And I said to Trish, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm sick of writing papers. She said, so you're going to just give up your degree because you don't want to finish one paper.
Come on,
And,
Trish.
and any kind of maybe student loan that you might have or anything that's out there, you're just going to pay that back without a degree.
Right.
She said, does that really make any sense? I said, not really. She goes, well, let me know when the paper's done. And I finished it.
Great.
I finished it in probably 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I was just 2 weeks shy of getting it done, but I
good.
needed a push.
You did.
And she's been a great push
Yep.
our whole marriage.
Yep. She does do that.
And she's really good at it.
Yeah.
She has a way of, I don't want to call it manipulation because that's not really what it is.
Do you hear that, Trish? It's not
It's
manipulation.
not. But she can speak in a way that can almost make me think it was my idea.
Oh, yeah. What a smart woman you
and
married.
it's so easy to do it when it's my idea.
Yes,
You know,
of course.
We butt heads when it's not my idea.
I'm the same way, Jimmy.
a lot.
Uh-huh.
But she's so good at it. And, and I mean, God is, he knew what I needed
Yeah.
when I needed it most.
Yeah.
And he brought her to me and he knew eventually she'd bring me to him.
Tell me your salvation story.
Wow. Salvation story.
We have like 20 minutes.
Okay. Well, I mean, we were going to the Catholic Church and I started a business and I met this woman in business and she was going to a Calvary Chapel church in South Florida. And one day she's over the house with me and Trish, and she
Wait,
says,
are you in Florida right now?
Yeah, we moved from Georgia to Florida.
Okay.
Because in Florida, I could get a job. Because in Florida, I was young at 50.
Because of all the old
In Georgia, you're old because of all the old people. I mean, I fit right in down
Right.
there. They could use me down there.
Good. So you moved.
And pay me a reasonable salary. So
Okay.
we moved to South Florida, and which was great because Jess lived in Miami.
Jess
So-
is.
My only daughter.
Yeah.
You know?
So she was from your first marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was from my first marriage, you know.
You just had the one.
Just the one child.
Yeah.
And that's, other than accepting Jesus,
I know.
the best thing that ever happened
Yeah.
was having her.
Yeah.
But back to the salvation story. So this woman, Antoinette, says, Jimmy, you have no godly men in your life at this Catholic church. She says, why don't you come to my church Saturday night and let me introduce you to some godly men? And you know, Jimmy, sure,
Wow.
I'll go. I'm always going to say yes. You know, I have a website, or not a website, I have a Facebook page called Just Say Yes, because I think just say yes is what you need to do. Say yes to Jesus, say yes to... So
Yeah.
we go to this church, and it's a small church, kind of like the size of our church here.
Yeah.
And I walk in, and we're a little bit tardy, which is odd for me. And the band's playing, and I was never into a band at church. That was
No.
not something in my brain that registered. And we walk in, and people have their hands in the air, and the music's playing. And I look at Trish, I said, this is a cult.
It would seem like it. Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And she said, Antoinette would not introduce us to a cult. Relax, and let's just see how it goes.
That smart woman you married there.
And so for quite a while, I was going to the Catholic Church on Sunday and Calvary Chapel on Saturday nights. And I was introduced to the Bible because the Catholic Church doesn't introduce you to the Bible.
Nope.
So I started reading the Bible. And I found out really quick that most of what I believed as a Catholic was a man-made construct. Mm-hmm. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to hang out with these people. So I
Wow.
started going to Calvary Chapel, and that would be Saturday nights, Sundays, and occasionally on Wednesdays.
And Trish going with you?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And so, and every service, they always did an altar call.
Right.
And it wasn't long before Trish gave her life to Christ. And she's looking at me. I said, I don't need to do that. She goes, what do you mean? I said, I read in the Bible that God knows my heart. He knows I love him. He knows I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to walk up in front of a bunch of people and do this.
You don't.
She said, well, all right. Well, so I don't know. I can't remember what the difference is between our acceptance in that realm of Jesus was, but I know it was an evening service, and the pastor was doing an altar call, and he made the statement that I just don't want anybody to leave tonight and get hit by a bus that hasn't accepted Jesus. And that hit me right between the eyes. I stood up, and I'm heading down the aisle to the front, because that's what you had to do. You had to walk down and profess your faith.
I know.
And Trish is hanging onto my belt loops because I'm going pretty quick. Because I thought that could happen.
Scared the hell out of you.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. And so that night, I gave my life to Christ, and things started to even get better in my life. And then I wanted to be baptized. And
Yeah.
so, of course, down in Florida, they do it in the ocean.
Great.
So we signed up to get baptized probably, it might have been about 5 or 6 months after that I gave my life to Jesus.
Yeah.
And all the way down from our house to Fort Lauderdale, where the baptism was happening, I'm praying for a rough sea. Because I like a raucous water. And I'll tell you, we get there and the waves are just thrashing. I said, this is great. Answer to prayer. And there were 350 of us that got baptized that day.
Whoa.
We had 7 groups of 50 on the beach, spread out,
Amazing.
and all kinds of people watching, trying to figure out, well, what are these folks doing? And I was able to, I got baptized, and then the pastor let me help him baptize Trish.
Oh, how
It
precious.
was so sweet.
Wow.
And when that was over, I mean, I can only relate the feeling of that Holy Spirit was like, I don't know, like something I've never, we didn't go home. Once we left the beach, we got in our vehicle and we drove all over the place, just laughing and giggling. I mean, we were just drunk.
You were
in the
drunk
spirit.
in the spirit.
We were
Yes,
just
you
drunk in the
were.
spirit. We did not go anywhere but just hanging out over the intercoastal, back over the intercoastal. You know how it is. They raise the bridge if this boat's coming. And we had no rush to go anywhere because we were just so drunk in the spirit.
Oh, wow.
And there's been no turning back. And my growth has been pretty phenomenal when I think about it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Now, you talked about Jess.
Yeah.
We don't have to get too deep into that if you don't, but I think it'd be good for people in church that don't know about your story with your daughter.
Okay. Well, Jess was my only daughter. Her mom and I divorced when Jess was almost 13 and I was coming out of prison. Prison was
We passed right over the prison part, Jimmy.
Yeah. Prison was a factor. Well, prison was a factor in, again, it was God.
Yeah.
Putting the brakes on this kid to stop what I was doing.
How long did you have to serve? How long were you there?
44 months, 22 days, and 11 hours.
That's where you're going to keep track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
wow.
So the divorce was amicable.
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't deserve her anyway at that point.
So did she divorce you when you were in prison?
No, she waited till I was out.
Okay.
But she came less and less and less and less and less to see me.
Yeah.
And that meant I was seeing less and less and less of Jess.
Yeah.
Because without certain permission, another person other than a parent can't bring a minor into a maximum security situation, you know. But as a divorced couple, we got along well.
Good.
She eventually met Trish.
Good.
I met Trish later on, and we were actually going to do stuff together. But her mom got cancer for the third time, and I was there every weekend taking care of her mom, even though we weren't a couple, because she's the mother of my kid.
Yeah.
So I always knew that because it was hereditary. Her mother's mother had the same breast cancer as her mother had and as she had. So I knew it was a hereditary, and it was a question of whether Jess would someday. So when I got the call one day, Daddy, I have cancer, I wasn't totally shocked.
Yeah.
You know.
And you wrote a book called that.
I did.
Yeah.
I wrote a book called Daddy, I have cancer.
Yeah.
But it was, you always are hoping for the best.
Yeah.
We couldn't save her grandmother. We couldn't save her mother. And so I knew the likelihood of saving her was slim.
Yeah.
But I had Jesus.
Right. And Jesus heals.
Right. So I had an in, So I started praying for her healing and praying that she would listen to me, because she was a woman. She was 33 years old when she got the cancer. She didn't have to do anything I told her to do. Yeah. But she called me one night, and unfortunately I had moved out of South Florida just 2 years before she was diagnosed, back to New Hampshire.
Oh, yeah.
So now I'm thousands of miles away from my only child.
Yeah.
And she really needs her dad. So whenever I could, I was on a plane. I was down in Miami.
Because she wasn't married, Jimmy?
No.
Yeah.
Because she knew of the possibilities of her getting breast cancer. She didn't want to have a child.
Oh, or get married.
Or get married and put some guy through that. So I can remember her saying, all they want to do, because I got her 3 different doctors, she goes, they want to do the same stuff they did with mommy, and it didn't work for her. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm going to find you alternative treatment. which was in Hampton, New Hampshire. I said, you're coming up here for treatment. Well, get a girl out of Miami, bring her up to Hampton, New Hampshire in the cold weather and stuff. She was fighting me all the way. And
Yeah, but it's worth a shot to save your life.
yeah, and she said, well, I've got to get a mastectomy first. She said, I'm getting rid of both my breasts. I said, all right. I said, we can do that up here. She goes, no.
Oh, she wanted to do it there.
She wanted to do it there.
Yeah.
So I'm praying about how I do this. I get a phone call, and she's standing in line at Deakin Women's Hospital, ready to check herself in for a surgery the next day. And she called me for some reason. I said, where are you? And she told me where she was. I said, step out of line. This is not happening.
Oh, my goodness.
You can't do this. I'm demanding right now that you come up to Boston. We'll do this in Boston, and then you'll be in Northampton right after it. I said, you're going to need somebody to take care of you.
Yes.
I said, this is not, you got good girlfriends and everything else, but it's just not going to go well. And we're arguing, and she's arguing in front of this poor woman who's trying to check her in. And finally, it's okay, fine. She hangs up the phone. She wouldn't take my call after that. So she comes up, and she does all her mastectomy and everything in Boston.
Yeah.
Trish takes care of her. She starts treatment in Northampton, and it went great. She actually went into remission
Oh, I didn't know this.
for about, maybe 3 months, 4 months. And then when she got sick of doing the treatment, she should have stayed probably a little longer. But, she wanted to be back with her team,
Yeah.
Miami Heat and all that.
Yeah.
And it was not long after she calls me and she was having peripheral vision issues. I said, we need to go to the oncologist. I don't want to go. I'll be there tomorrow because you're going to go. So on a plane down to Miami,
Man.
we go, and she listens, and I can still remember her saying, okay, that's all I need to know. How do I fight this? And he told her what the protocol was going to be. She said, great.
Was that a different kind of cancer? Because it was her vision?
It was the same cancer, but it
metastasized? Is that what they call it?
It just had spread to a lymph node they hadn't taken out.
Was that an error?
No.
Oh.
They try to leave some for you.
Okay, yeah.
So she said, well, great. And that was going to be chemotherapy. It was going to be all kinds of stuff that she didn't want to do initially, but
Right.
she already done all that other stuff. And he said she was in the best shape he'd ever seen anybody who had cancer. So the prognosis was okay.
Yeah.
So she said, great, sign me up. And she leaves the room. She says, now you can have a real conversation with my dad because I don't want to know anything. I just want to know how to fight it.
Kind of smart. Yeah.
Yep. So then he told me, this isn't looking good.
Oh, did he lie to her?
No, he said, but he just said, this is going to be tough. She's in great shape. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
And within 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, she was having more issues. And they took her in for a CAT scan, and it had metastasized into her brain. She had 12 tumors in her brain.
Oh.
And back in, and he said that we can try some radiation. She said, fine, I'm going to lose my hair, right? He said, yeah, probably. She said, well, we're going wig shopping then. And out of the door she goes.
Wow, she's
and he
tough.
told me, he said, she's not going to survive this. He said, I can maybe get you to Christmas. And this was she died on September 24th. So this was probably somewhere in August. And so 3 or 4 radiation treatments did absolutely nothing except knock her hair out and weaken her physically.
Right.
So he said, let's just stop. And so then she knew.
Yeah.
But she still had hopes because we were praying.
Yeah.
And the cool thing was I brought her a Bible when I went down the last time. And she was raised Jewish because her mom was Jewish. And I just felt faith was important one way or the other, even though it wasn't going to be my faith.
Yeah.
Because when she was born, I had no faith.
Yeah.
But she had to have something.
Right.
So, I read to her Esther. I read to her, Ruth, all the strong women of the Bible. I said, you need to stay strong like these women, Then I went into Isaiah.
Yeah.
And I remember one morning I hadn't slept. I wasn't really sleeping because I was feeding her, shopping, doing laundry, bathing her, and eventually toileting her because she couldn't do anything anymore.
Wow.
And she said, Daddy, you haven't read to me yet today.
Oh.
So I knew that meant get the Bible out.
Oh, Jimmy.
So I read to her where Jesus is prophesied in Isaiah.
Wow.
And she would be dozing in and out of consciousness because she was on a lot of medication. But I kept reading even when it looked like she was sleeping. But she heard it all.
Oh, yeah.
She heard it all.
Yeah.
And the cool thing was she had also seen the changes in her dad as a result of accepting Christ.
Right.
I made a lot of changes in my life.
Yeah.
I'm still making them.
We will always be, yeah.
I'm hoping. I still got some stuff that I'd like to lose,
You will not stop growing, Jimmy. I know you.
So eventually she had to go back into the hospital, and she never came out. She went back into the hospital. She spiked a fever one night, had a seizure, bad seizure. The only way they stopped the seizure was with Ativan, a lot of it.
Yeah.
And they said she's going to sleep for at least 24 hours.
Wow.
I said, well, while she's sleeping, we're going to move her into hospice because on a hospital floor, to get medicine that you need, it takes an act of Congress. You got to get a nurse to call the doctor. The doctor's got to call the pharmacy. The pharmacy's got to make it. And by then, the pain is like...
Yeah.
But in hospice, you walk down the end of the hall, and they walk right back down, and they give you more morphine.
Every hour if you need it. Yeah.
So I remember when she woke up in the hospice room, she looked around and she goes, whose house are we at? Because it looked like a regular bedroom.
Oh, that's nice.
In a home.
Yeah.
And I explained to her where we were. And her doctor was kind enough before she had that seizure. I said to him, you got to tell her what's going on.
Yeah.
I said, because I'm not doing it. No. I'm not telling her this is the end. He goes, no, that's my job. He said, I'm going away for the weekend to a conference in Chicago. I said, well, go have a briefing with her.
Yeah.
So he tells her. Then he says, you need to have some answers for me when I come back on Monday. Do you want a DNR? Do not resuscitate. Do not intubate. She goes, you need to think. He says, you need to think about these things. She goes, I don't need to think about anything. Whatever my dad says goes.
Oh. Oh, my goodness.
So that was like when I had to write out the DNR and the do not intubate and whatnot.
Oh, Jimmy.
It was like signing, her death warrant.
Yeah.
Basically.
It is, yeah.
But, God was merciful, and it never came to that, It just came to the point where she just...
Never woke up?
Never woke up,
You were with her?
Yeah. But the cool thing was, 4 days before she passed away, she accepted Jesus.
She did. That's the best thing.
Yeah. Oh. It was so wild.
How did that happen?
Well, this girlfriend of hers, brand new Christian, who we had all gone to lunch, the three of us, and she asked me to help her pick out a Bible for a Bible study class she was taking. I said, well, what version does your Bible study? I don't know. I said, well, you got to know that. I said, because we might pick out the wrong one. So then this girl tells me her story. I tell her mine. The first time Jess ever really heard my story. And her eyes were just as big as saucers.
The first time Jess heard your story?
Yeah, she never really knew my whole story.
Wow.
And this girl said, I think I'm supposed to lead Jess to Jesus tonight. I said, well, then go do it. She said, I can't do that. I'm too new. She said, I'll get my Bible study teacher here. So she calls this woman on the phone, and the woman says, I can't get there tonight, honey. You've got to do it. She goes, no way. I'm calling my pastor. So she calls her pastor, and he says, I can get there 7:30, 8 o'clock, but if something happens prior to that,
you do it.
You need to do this.
Yeah.
So Christine takes another woman into Jess's room, and they were in there what seemed like an interminable amount of time. Of course, morphine, she's in, she's out, she's conscious,
right.
she's not.
The fact that she was even able to be conscious for that.
And what seemed like, I don't know, an eternity, the girls come out, and they're just gleeful because Jess accepted Jesus. So the whole room just erupts into cheers
Wow.
because even those who weren't Christian knew what it meant to me and Trish
Yeah.
for Jess to accept Christ.
Yeah.
And I sent those two girls. I said, "You guys need to take a break." She goes, "Yeah, church is happening in about an hour. I'm going to take Leslie to church." The other woman who was a non-believer.
Wow.
The other woman ends up giving her life to Christ that night because of what she just witnessed.
Wow.
And then Christine has led over 300 people to Christ since she led Jess, her first person ever.
What an evangelist.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how, Romans 8:28 happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not, I mean, good in my life too.
Yeah.
My life has been blessed even after losing Jess.
Yeah, of course.
It really has, because I realized I'm her legacy rather than her being my legacy. And as her legacy, I got to do the right thing always because it's reflecting on her.
Oh.
So it's made me a better person
Yeah.
in that, and I don't have to worry about her. I know where she is.
I know.
All I have to worry about is, get up in the morning and follow Jesus. It's pretty simple. This world's crazy. There's a lot you can think is important and you think you need to do or what has to happen, but none of it really makes any difference. What makes a difference is if we're following Jesus.
That's it, Jimmy.
That's all. That's all that makes a difference is follow Him, and it's a lot easier than people think, but they complicate it way too much, or they don't take it seriously, and they end up. How's it go in Revelations? If you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth. Well, you don't want to get spit out of God's mouth. Get hot for Jesus, or be cold and let Him warm you up, but don't stay lukewarm. Because it's not going to end well for you. It really won't.
I guess that's where I get my black and white nature.
Really?
It's him. Yeah, it's either be hot or be cold. Like don't be the in between.
Yeah, let your
Choose,
yes be
pick
yes, let
one.
your no be no.
Yeah, right. Yes.
And don't sit on that fence.
No. Everybody listening to that is good wisdom. It's absolutely 100% biblical. That is the message to follow Christ. When He called them, He said, "Follow me."
Right.
That's what it means to be a disciple. I say this all the time, but He didn't call us Christians.
No.
He called us disciples. So follow Jesus.
Disciple is a student.
Right.
So we're lifelong students as we follow Him.
Of our teacher. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really like, I think it's Deuteronomy 31:6, where it says that He'll never leave us or forsake us.
No.
Ever.
Yeah, ever.
And even in some of my darkest times,
Yeah.
in my abuse, He was there. When Peter overdosed, I didn't. He was there. When I couldn't control myself, He was there and He sent me to prison. And when I finally was ready to surrender, He was like the prodigal's dad. He was waiting to say, "Come on along."
Yep.
He's
Run to you.
always there. And He's there right now as we sit here and we chat.
Yep.
And
He was there in your grief.
Oh, He was there in the grief, but He took a little bit of a beating from me
I know.
early on. I was pretty,
Yeah.
even though I felt blessed that she accepted Christ and that she was out of pain,
Yeah.
but I tried to do a breast cancer walk, and I had Jess's ashes in the backpack. And I made the walk, but
Yeah.
I was seeing women who had survived.
Yeah.
And I was so angry
Yeah.
that women do survive,
And she
but
didn't.
my woman didn't survive.
And you were praying.
Yeah. So I was really angry. So
Yeah.
we had it out. But one day during a worship service, I was just screaming that I had no dreams about her. The only way I could hear her voice is I've got old videos on my phone and whatnot to hear what her voice sounds like. And I kept saying, "Why can't I at least have some kind of visitation, Lord?" and he gave it to me. I was, I move a lot during worship. I dance,
You and me both, Jimmy.
And all of a sudden, I felt arms around me. And
I remember you telling me this
and
story.
when Jess was really sick and I would take her to the toilet, it was like waddling dancing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we called it the father-daughter dance because I knew I'd never have a father-daughter dance with her.
Oh.
And so I knew what her arms felt like wrapped around me. And so he gave that to me.
Oh, that is
It was such a gift.
beautiful. What a gift.
It was such a gift.
And that wasn't too long ago.
No. I mean, she's only been, 2013. So, this September will be 13 years.
But that encounter wasn't very long ago.
No, that encounter
maybe
was
a year
probably
ago?
a good 7 years into, so probably 6 years ago, maybe a little longer.
So that wasn't here?
No.
Okay, you must have just told me that story.
Yeah.
Okay.
That wasn't here. That was at Grace Capital Church in Pembroke, New Hampshire.
How long have you been here at Elevate?
Oh, gosh.
You and Trish?
I bet it's got to be 5 years, maybe.
Yeah. What does this church mean to you?
This church means safety. This church means family. Mm-hmm. This church means connection. This church means teaching. I get everything from this church. We looked around a lot because we used to come up to the North Country on weekends because we were living in Manchester before we retired. And to find a church up in the North Country is tough.
Yes, it is.
Especially when you've come from what I consider, either Pentecostal or, something where you can feel the Holy Spirit when you walk in the door.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you don't feel the Holy Spirit, I'm just turning around and leaving.
You and me both.
Because there's something going on that I don't want.
That I don't want, right.
And the first day we came here on a Sunday, we knew that this was a church that we could stay at.
Yeah.
And we would come whenever we were up on weekends. And then when we retired, we just moved up.
Yeah. Well,
eventually.
We're so happy you're here.
Well, we're happy to be here.
Yeah,
we really are.
I love you guys. Jimmy is our second drummer. Not the. Now listen, I'm not saying the old one, the older one, the one that has less hair.
Much less
than Justin, just on top.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Can you pray? We have to wrap it up already. That went really fast, didn't it? Can you pray for those who maybe are struggling with mystery that God didn't seem to come through like they thought he would and hoped he would?
Sure. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all you've given us today that we notice. We thank you for the things that you are giving us that we don't notice because we're too busy.
Thank you.
And we're asking you, Lord, for that peace that goes beyond all understanding. We know that you hear our prayers even when you don't necessarily answer our prayers, and that you have a purpose. We were born on purpose, for a purpose, and we have to surrender to your purpose for our life, Lord. And for anybody who's struggling and wondering why you're not giving them what it is they're seeking, Lord, I ask that you give them some revelation. Help them to see what it is that you are giving them. Help them to have some gratitude for what you have given them, and ask them and help them to see what it is that you really have for them and why what they're looking for isn't necessarily in their best interests. Because I had to learn the hard way that, in losing my daughter, there was gain. As Paul says, to die in Christ is gain. So for those who are struggling right now, I just pray that you surrender what your struggle is to him. And once you let it go, he will give back to you what you need to survive. He always provides an exit ramp. You always can get off the highway somewhere. So let him show you where the exit ramp is for your angst, for your anxiousness. Be anxious for nothing, but just pray for that revelation to come, because he will, in his timing, which is perfect and is not our timing at all. He will give us what we always need. And he's in the waiting. So when you're waiting and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting, know that he's there and he's waiting for the right time and for us to be ready for what he's got for us. And if we're not ready, we have to keep waiting. So I just ask that in the name of Jesus.
Thank you, God. Amen. Thank you, Jimmy. Well, we're going to wrap it up with the closing 10. But before we do that, thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
It was really, really rich. Such a good interview. So good getting to know you more. I have a word for you.
Cool.
So Matthew 6, the very familiar one. I was praying for you, and the Father heart of God was really highlighted to me. So Matthew 6:26. Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? And the two words that really stuck out stood out was the word your. I feel like the Lord wants to give you an even greater upgrade of the personhood of your Heavenly Father, that He's your Heavenly Father, and of your value to Him. And then in John 20:17 is when Jesus says, my God and your God, my Father and your Father. So I just ask that the Holy Spirit would just minister that to you in a deeper way.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And here we go. So whatever comes to your mind, you've heard these because you listen to all the podcasts.
I'm a fan.
The biggest fan. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
My favorite comfort food or snack is?
Pasta.
My favorite season is because?
That's a tough one. Well, we moved back from South Florida to New Hampshire because we missed the season. So I'll have to say summer and fall, too.
Summer. You can pick one. That's the rule.
That's the rule. Well, because summer's only July up here.
If even that, right?
I'll pick fall.
Everybody's picking fall. My favorite holiday.
Well, I don't really have Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. My favorite band or artist, because I know you're a musician. So,
Glenn Miller.
Glenn Miller. I love the sound of
Running water.
Oh, I love the smell of
Coffee.
A random talent I have is
A random talent I have. I forgot about this question. I should have remembered the question.
But yeah, and I'm about to switch them up for who comes on next.
Right. I'm a good listener.
Yeah, you are.
You know, as a counselor.
You have to be.
Yeah, if you can't, it's your best tool in the toolbox.
Right. One word my friends would use to describe me.
Driven.
Lately, I've been really grateful for
Jesus.
Right now, I'm looking forward to
Retiring again.
Yeah, you're getting ready.
Yeah.
And because we are at the table, the final question is, to me, the table is?
The table is a tool to bring people together.
Yeah, that's good. What a great way to close. Thanks for sitting at the table with us today. My hope is that these conversations would turn a familiar or not so familiar face into a deeper connection and remind us that we're not just a group of people who gather, but a family that belongs to one another. So join me next time at the table.